Jared and ladies and gentlemen, great to be with you this evening. Great to be joining you once again, Kelly O'Dwyer, for an exchange of ideas and thoughts. I'll see if I can meet the challenge of raising the standard of debate. At the turn of the last century, a new nation was born. It was crafted in the Antipodes from the colonies of Britain. It was as inspired by the new democracy in North America as it was loyal to its imperial sovereign. In the 112 years since, we've built one of the most successful, peaceful and wealthiest nations on earth, not without fault or cost. For too long we denied the rights of Aboriginal people. We've not always been good custodians of the land. We persisted with the notion of white Australia long after we knew that it was wrong. But today we are a peaceful, wealthy, resilient and energetic nation with every reason to be optimistic about our future. As we look around the world, we know that our future is not guaranteed. Our future will be forged in the suburbs and the cities, in the regions and in the parliaments of our nation. It will be imagined and contested by our generation of leaders who offer themselves up to be voted in to the next parliament. I enter this election confident of where our best future lies. I believe that our future prosperity and security lies within the Asia-Pacific region. We have it within our grasp to build an economic powerhouse, an open trading nation that is truly engaged with the nations of the Asia-Pacific. A prosperous, stable and outward-looking democracy, reconciled to its Aboriginal people, confident as a new republic but proud of its British ancestry. A country that is as good at tackling inequality as it is at creating wealth. A country that can foster a new generation of entrepreneurs who are as conscious of their obligation to community and the environment as they are of their obligation to their shareholders. A country that sees its social and cultural and religious diversity not as a threat, but as an essential part of its national identity. This future can be built by leaders who are economically literate, socially progressive and engaged with the region, entrepreneurial by instinct and committed to prosperity with equality. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that Australia needs the Australian Labor Party to be a part of building this future. And the Australian Labor Party needs leaders who can make this future happen. A short introduction to myself. I was elected to Parliament in 2010. This followed a long career as a community worker, a lawyer and a union official. In many ways, I have the archetypal background of a Labor MP. I grew up in a large Catholic family in the industrial heartland of Wollongong. I did not follow the same path as many of those who came before me into the steelworks or the mines of the Illawarra. There are a few reasons for this. The year I left school, the steel industry and mines were plunged into recession. Thousands of jobs were lost. The capacity to take up a trade of your choosing that had been the path of my friends and relatives disappeared. Luckily, I was a good student and my parents had always impressed upon us the importance of education and hard work as the path to success. I finished school and worked in as many casual jobs as I could find before travelling around the country and then going to university. My political conviction was born of this early experience. I saw firsthand the devastation caused by mass unemployment. And it's not just the poverty wrought by loss of livelihood, but the loss of hope, of optimism and the waste of human potential. I determined that I wanted to make a difference, even though I didn't know at the time exactly how that was going to be. I have been very lucky ever since to find work that has been an expression of my personal values. I believe that more typically this will be, I believe this will typically be a future of mine and other generations to come. When I joined the Labor Party, it was because I believed the community organisations needed to work with and within political parties to pursue their objectives. I had no idea at the time that I joined that I'd end up becoming a member of the Australian Parliament. Ladies and gentlemen, it's customary to recite the achievements of a party, whether it's the Liberal Party or my party, as a prelude to the exploration of the new frontiers, for good reason. Political movements draw strength and inspiration and identity from their past and purpose from the challenges of the future. For over 100 years, Labor's contribution to Australia has been to build a prosperous but fairer nation by providing employees with rights at work through the creation of a social safety net, by providing access to health and education, and by building the economic infrastructure that the private sector could not or would not build. Labor legislated against discrimination and gave land rights to the first Australians and legislated to protect our environments. These were powerful new ideas producing hard-won reforms, the result of tough political battles. Often the first battleground was within the party itself. But I make this point, and it's an important point. Once Labor adopted a position around an idea, it gave that idea the chance to enter the mainstream of political discussion. Only a major political party can achieve this, and the reason is simple. Government in Australia is the battle between the major parties for the middle ground. But unlike the ocean's tides, once the shift in the middle ground has occurred, we never return to the same place. When Labor adopted the idea of the National Disability Insurance Scheme, as Kelly has mentioned, we argued the case and succeeded in convincing not only the nation, but even our political opponents that this must happen. Other examples abound. We can cite Medicare, native title, an apology, industrial awards, even paid parental leave, which once was described by Tony Abbott as occurring over his dead body. It's now firmly an idea within the political mainstream. The same can be said of our economic reforms, and I take this opportunity to pay great tribute to the work of the Hawke and Keating governments, opening up our financial markets, reforming trade and tariffs, establishing occupational superannuation, and even small things like share market reforms and franking dividends, which have had a massive impact on ordinary Australians investing in the share market. Labor argued the case to bring these ideas into the mainstream. And once the middle ground has been established, the reforms endure and the bitter political battles proceeded fade from memory. Labor's enduring contribution to Australia's social and economic fabric has been to shift the marker of the middle ground through landmark reforms which have gone on to define our nation. Can I turn to the new frontiers for progressive politics? Others might stand here and talk about things like the fight for equality, a republic. Climate change will feature strongly, I know, and marriage equality is another. I won't labour that issue. I believe the debate's actually been won within the community. It's just taking a while for some of Kelly's and my political colleagues to catch up on the matter. I want to focus on our role in the region. Australia's future prosperity and security lies within our region. Our economic, cultural and security will be built on the enduring and reciprocal relationships which focus on long-term and mutual benefits, not short-term opportunism. No country, in my mind, is more important than Indonesia and our long-term relationships with a country which is one of our nearest neighbours. These relationships are not a foregone conclusion. We need only look at debates around foreign investment and our engagement with Asia to see where the threats lie. I've been amused, although I support the notion of a land register, a register to see how much of our land is being owned by overseas nationals. I think it would be equally interesting to see a register of how much property is owned by Australians in other nations to balance the debate. Our generation of leaders still has work to do to shift the common sense on these issues. To remain an open trading nation, we have to convince sometimes reluctant nation there is more to be gained than lost from an engagement, a deep engagement with the Asia-Pacific region and the rest of the world. We need to deepen the understanding of the importance of our relationship with these nations. We need to do more to assist the economic and social transitions that are occurring, particularly in regions like mine, which have been beset by the impact of a very high Australian dollar and strong competition from the Asia-Pacific region on its traditional manufacturing base. On this last point, the fight for equality is the handmaiden of economics and business. I'll give you an example. A worker who loses his or her job because their employer can't compete with low-priced imports is very little interested in Adam Smith's theory of competitive advantage. Without a job, they benefit little from the cheaper consumer goods on offer. They become a willing ear for simple slogans, and there are many on offer in this election. And we should not think, I should say, that the rhetoric that is delivered from one policy silo does not spill over to other areas. It does, and the debate around immigration is a case in point. The second issue I wish to talk about is our relationship with small business. It can and should transcend the transactional, campaign-driven exchange of request and policy concession. Labor was born of the aspiration of working people, but our party needs to recognise that the way work is done has changed. In increasing numbers, we are now working in small business or running them. Labor has to extend its gaze to this new world of work and apply our traditional values of equality and fairness to the needs and aspirations of this world. I believe we have much to offer. For a party formed on the idea of the dignity of work, it should be common sense that a small business is not just a means of making a living and generating wealth, it's also an expression of aspiration by the individuals involved in setting it up. For a party formed on the idea that individuals who bargain collectively can overcome the imbalance of power between labour and capital, it should be common sense that the same imbalance exists between the small and large businesses, particularly when they contract with each other. For a party that is committed to ensuring the tax burden is distributed so that those with more pay proportionately more than those with little, it should come as common sense to see that our tax system should be both efficient and fair to small business. And for a party that is committed to building and providing the infrastructure and service that the private sector can't or won't provide, we should be natural partners of small business that rely on our roads, our rail, our communication systems and the graduates of our schools, TAFEs and universities. We are building the infrastructure of the future. The NBN is an example, delivering fibre optic cable to over 93% of Australian homes and businesses. But with this project, we are also building equality. We're building equality between cities and regions, equality between high and low income families, equality of access to markets between big businesses and small businesses. That's why it is a Labor project and why it took a Labor government to conceive of it and to build it. Small businesses and entrepreneurial enterprises will thrive and prosper through fibre optic connectivity to the ideas and the markets of Asia Pacific and the rest of the world. With the national broadband network, the next big thing in this country will be lots of little things. Small enterprises founded on big dreams and able to reach out to the world and beyond. The third and final point I want to make is about progressive entrepreneurs. I believe that it's folly to assume that those who work in business are unyielding in support of one side of politics or another. I know of many successful entrepreneurs who firmly believe in generating social wealth, yet who are appalled by the intellectual paucity of Australia's political debate. They believe in equality, in Australia as a republic, in the fair treatment of asylum seekers, and they believe in climate change and a sensible market-based solution for the addressing of that issue. They believe in justice for the first Australians. They do not believe that their success rests on the exploitation of those beneath them. They are frustrated that that most important political debate that we have to have around productivity is narrowed to a very small focus on industrial relations. They believe in equality and fairness and a better Australia. Their politics embraces the future, not the past. I'd argue that they don't have a natural place in any one particular party, not the Liberal Party, not the Labor Party. Over the next 10 years, Labor must and will extend its gaze to embrace the entrepreneurial innovator and the progressive thinker, the small business person, and those that we traditionally rely on to generate and to shift the middle ground in Australian politics so that we can take on the challenges of our future. These are the people that I'd like to seek to give a voice to in the Australian Parliament. These are the people that I want to work with to ensure that we realise that great optimistic future that I outlined at the outset. Thank you for the time this evening.
I'll just go over there.